Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Super License F1 podcast. My name's Rodney.
And my name is Zach.
Good to be talking to you, Zach, for this weekend of the Russian Grand Prix. How's your life, my friend?
Schumacher.
Schumacher.
Yeah, I just had that stuck in my head.
We will mention that in a second, but I do want you to please tell the good people how you are.
I'm really well. North London is red. That's all I needed. There's much toing and froing about, Arsenal versus Tottenham in the Premier League, and lots of people saying, "Oh God, the game's on like 4:30 on a Sunday. At least it won't wreck my weekend." But I'd said to someone, I was like, "Yeah, but you just get anxiety the whole weekend until that point." So it was nice. Kept myself busy. Enjoyed the London Coffee Festival. If anybody else in London is thinking about going to that next year, it was really fun. Lots of freebies and just way too much coffee. I woke up at like 4 a.m. being like, "Let's think about all the things now. Let's solve problems." And it was like, but why is it still coursing through my veins?
Like when you wake up and you're still drunk. You're waking up and you're like, "Oh, jittery. I want to do a crossword or something."
Yeah, why do I feel like this? What about you? How are all things lovely in Melbourne?
Things are going good. Actually, the weather's picking up a little bit, which is really, really nice. And, the vax rates, they're just going through the roof. They're straight up like a bullet, which is, you love to see it. So, there's reasons to feel good about things. And then we had an F1 week, so that's also double good. I was going to say, yes, obviously, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to ask, what was the timing like for the Russian Grand Prix? It was like 1 o'clock here.
Another brilliant 10 p.m. start, like a race I could actually watch and get to bed at a reasonable hour. Ooh, I love it. It just makes my week.
That time technology the Russians were inventing just for you.
I could have watched qualifying. I didn't, but I was normally qualifying starts at like 11 and it goes till a bit after midnight, and I'm like, I could just watch the highlights tomorrow and get the gist of it, or if it's really good, rewatch it. So I haven't lately been watching qualifying, but even then I was just like, I'd written it off and I was sitting on my computer working on something, and I looked on Twitter and they were like, "And Norris is taking pole," and I was like, I could have watched it. Oh well, doesn't matter. Oopsie daisy. But it was a great time.
It wasn't that good anyway, was it? Qualifying? Not that good. Anyway.
No, the race was very good too. We'll talk about all of it. But before we do that, I did want to call out for the wonderful Patreon supporters that we have. You all hopefully enjoyed your special episode of, what do we call it? Schumacher is the name of the show, is what we call our special episode, which was us, you and me, Zach, talking about the Netflix series Schumacher. So hopefully if you are a supporter on us on Patreon, first of all, thank you. Hopefully you found that okay and it was fine. That's the way that the episodes and special things will be going out from now on. And if you're curious, you can go and check out the Patreon. It's what you can enter for, I think, as little as $1. But if you feel like giving us $5, you can do that. And if you feel like giving us $10, it's exactly the same benefits, except it's $10 instead of $5. So you can go and do that as well.
Yeah, and our Patreon supporters have been a big reason why in the last almost 2 seasons now we've been doing episodes pretty much weekly, regardless if there's a race or not, and trying to put out more content generally. So we are really appreciative of the Patreons being patient for their own exclusive content, but also, the general vibe of them making sure that we can produce content for everybody, which is really,
sharing is caring.
Really, really great.
Schumacher.
You said Schumacher. Yeah, you said Schumacher series and not documentary. I was like, I wonder if there could be more episodes of Schumacher, more detail.
I didn't mean to say single. It's a one-off. It's a one and done. The other thing I was going to say is Mick Schumacher came out and said that it was his favorite documentary ever.
He needs to watch more documentaries.
We could probably recommend a couple, which we might do on the next shakedown. But also, he's in it. So, is it a bit much to say when you're in the documentary? I know it's about his dad and everything, but is it a bit much to say it's my favorite he said it's the best documentary ever.
I think it is a little bit, and especially if it's also got your name on it too.
Yes, exactly. There's a little bit of that. Anyway, look, those thoughts are out there. If you want to go and check them out, please do. If you have any issues, let us know. Otherwise, Zach, we've probably got a bit of a race to talk about. What do you reckon?
I reckon, did you enjoy the movie Flash Gordon more because it's got your name in it? And does that make it the best film ever? Because you're almost in it.
It's pretty good.
There we go. See? Yeah, let's talk about the race.
Let us race a bit. I gave him space.
Let's hurry up and get out of here. We've got a race to do.
Hey, Zach, is your favorite movie The Exorcist because it's got a priest in it?
I thought you were going to say the film Priest by,
What?
what's his face in it? The guy, yeah. He's like a priest that kills vampires, something
Is
like
it
that.
Gabriel Byrne? It feels like a Gabriel Byrne joint.
Maybe. Who's the guy who plays Vision in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
You're talking to the wrong guy.
Paul Bettany. You know him. This is a 2011
skinny
film,
albino
Priest.
man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in,
I know him. Yes.
Yeah, in the Da Vinci Code or
Yes, that's the one I know him
Demons,
from.
maybe. Yeah, it's a horror film directed by Scott Stewart and stars Paul Bettany as the title character, loosely based on a Korean comic.
Awesome. Click on the trivia tab and read it all out.
He's a. It's got to guess what the Rotten Tomatoes score is. Well, let me read the description. A veteran warrior priest breaks his sacred vows to hunt down bloodthirsty vampires who kidnapped his niece, his niece's boyfriend, Hick, and priestess, a former warrior, join him on his quest.
Fun.
How much?
I reckon that's at least
percentage. Rotten Tomatoes.
15, at least 15%.
It's 15 fucking bang on the nose, mate.
Fuck yes.
You looked, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I swear to God, I didn't.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know. I know that when something's good, it's fresh. What is it called when it's not good on Rotten Tomatoes?
Rotten, right?
Is it that it? Rotten and fresh? Isn't it fresh like over 80% or something?
Let me have a look. Tomato meter.
What a dumb word.
Say? Tomato meter?
I don't know.
Tomato meter. This is my good friend Tomato meter. They've all got crucifixes painted on their foreheads. It doesn't say. It just says 15%. Do I hover over it? Will it give me nothing? It doesn't say anything.
I feel like we could got another couple of minutes here that we could just burn on this shit. So let's
leave
do that.
it. Let's go.
I was going to say, if you want 30 seconds to recap the movie Priest, you can have it. Otherwise, I'll do a 30-second recap of the race. What do you reckon?
Yeah, do the race because I haven't seen the film Priest. So
you brought it up and you haven't even seen it.
I just know it exists.
Oh my God, this show has gone to the dogs.
Gone to the Dogs. Is that a film that exists?
Good Formula One show. Oh, man. Gone to the Dogs. This sounds like a Billy Connolly movie. All right. 30-second recap of the Russian Grand Prix. It's my turn. Here we go. I'm going to get started right at the end of this. Bit of a wet qualifying gave pole to Norris. Norris? Yeah, Norris. Would have held on for a victory if not for the rain, where he completely botched the call and handed the win to Hamilton, who scores his 100th. Max Verstappen, who started from the back of the grid after an engine penalty, recovers to P2 in a miracle drive. Big call for Bottas when the team told him he was going to finish P5. I was like, as if he's going to, but then he actually did. Amazing. Seb and Lance touched a little bit, but it was kind of fine. Sainz gets a podium that he actually gets to stand on. Incredible. A good race. Lots to talk about.
Race. Your review on the fresh versus
probably underselling that
rotten scale. Good.
Yeah, I'll give it fresh. No, I'll give it fresh.
You give it fresh. I thought it was a pretty fresh race. It was a lot of be a fresh track after all that rain, right?
Oof. Yeah, exactly. I thought you were going to talk about vaccines or something. I don't know. Anyway,
no, fuck that.
I feel like it's time to put a moratorium on all that. We've covered that now. Good Russian Grand Prix. Good time, good race. It was just good all round, except, poor old Norris. You don't like to see the guy nearly get his maiden victory and then have it snatched away from him. And I mean, I'd love to hear what you think about this, but kind of by his own hands, by his own bad call.
Yeah, this is what we mean when we talk about experience and clear-headedness and drivers not having all the information that, teams do. I know there's been some toing and froing recently after the race where it's like, well, should Norris have done that? But he knows how slick the track is and if it's good. But the team had way more information, but it's like that rain did kind of pass, but then Mercedes engineers were like, but there was just another rain band right behind it. It was going to rain worse in a couple of minutes. That's why we brought Lewis in. I don't know. Maybe I don't really think of McLaren crumbling under the pressure or anything like that. I just think that they backed their boy and it was brave, but it was wrong. They should have. They should have brought him in, forced him in.
In the moment when he was started to make that call, obviously Hamilton was told come in for pits, and he was like, "No, I'm not going to pit because Norris isn't pitting, so I'm not pitting." I guess he thought I'm going to get him. Whatever he does, I'll do, but I'm going to get him one way or the other because wet conditions are my conditions. That's Lewis's mindset. But also, Mercedes had Bottas, who they had pitted just as it started raining, so they knew that the speed was in pitting. You could more than make up, for a pit stop within, 2 laps, and there was 7 left or something. But also they had to think about Verstappen, who was charging on wet tires, and they kind of, I guess by the time you cover him off, that's the smart decision. And, I guess everyone's coming into the race thinking, well, Lewis will knock off Lando off the start, probably. Then straight into turn 1, boom, thanks very much, and then just win. and Verstappen will probably like minor points. But Verstappen really got a get out of jail, I think, because he's taken his engine penalty now, which means Lewis will have to take some pain. You know, there's 7 races left and 2 points in the championship or something. Hamilton's going to have to take some pain somewhere. So the only result better for Verstappen would be if Hamilton didn't win. But I mean, he should be buying a lottery ticket because I think he's actually the big winner out of all of this.
Yeah, incredibly lucky. And it wasn't looking like that, right? Like it really all changed. And as soon as it started pouring, I think that McLaren had a lot to focus on at the time, right? They were like, oh, Hamilton's going to get us and then we're going to hold on and we've got Ricciardo as well. And how's it going to go? And it might have just been all a bit too much with then Norris just being like, no, I don't want to. You guys are stupid.
It's hard to pick from the lead.
It is. It is really hard. I admire McLaren trying to do something different. And if there was 2 laps to go, maybe. It was a tall order. And they've been made to look stupid, I think, after having so much goodwill. Right? Wow, hey, Monza wasn't a fluke. You guys are quick. You're putting together race weekends. Like, it's all good. This looked a little daft, perhaps, is the right word for it. And it's been interesting as well in my personal circles, people talking about like Lando, the whinger, right? God, he's just always on the radio being like, stop talking to me or blah, 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 blah. I was like, I think everyone's a bit like that. You just only hear the ones from the people who are winning. You know, you actually hear far fewer radio calls, anecdotally, from the midfield and below because no one gives a shit. Like, it doesn't matter. They can only focus on so many people. I think as your popularity goes up or as you are more in the points, you tend to get more radio coverage on the television, like more telecast coverage. But yeah, they should have just overruled him and forced him in because it's not just about him winning the race. It's a binary decision because if you fuck up, you're out. Like, you could crash. You could crash into your teammate. You could get no points. And it's not like they aren't in a championship battle for Constructors' Championship as well. Like, we're not so far through the season that they're painted on for third. There's still lots of points to be there. And if they come, if Norris had just come second or third, it's a huge points haul. Whereas, seventh? And had the chance for, maybe we can talk a little bit about maybe he should have got a penalty for crossing over the pit line and then going back into the pits. That seems like it should have just been nailed on penalty. It felt risky all over, which is a sign of immaturity, not just from the driver, but from the team. So I was disappointed for McLaren. But Red Bull and Max Verstappen just find a way, don't they? It's like, oh, sweet, this worked out perfectly. And now, it's the second time we're saying it this season, I feel like it's Max Verstappen's to lose, even though he's not winning.
It's true. I mean, it shouldn't be as close as it is. I think it's still advantage Verstappen and Red Bull going forward. But, it's crazy that it's this close. It really is. They should be...
a good championship.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I haven't really been psyched for the championship this year. But having said that, it's going to get to the last race and it's going to go right down to the wire and someone's going to win by like 1 point. And everyone's going to be like, that was the best year of Formula One we've had in decades. And I'm going to be like... I feel like I didn't enjoy it. It sounds so stupid. I've watched all the races. We do a friggin' podcast about it, but I just feel like...
Do you like Formula One?
I'm just checked out, man. No, I mean, I think this year's been just a tough year. That might be part of it. That's contributing to it. It's not occupying my thoughts the way it normally would when I'm, sitting at work pretending to read emails and I'm actually thinking, man, that overtake was so fucking sick. I'm not having that same relationship with the sport. That's all. But yeah, I mean, we should appreciate it. This is quite a battle that we're watching, which is really good. And it's the battle people have been wanting to see for a couple of years. And it's a good battle. It wasn't like, oh boy, with Vettel and Hamilton, this is going to be a ding dong battle. And it's like, oh, Hamilton won with 7 races to go. We've got 7 races to go and there's 2 points in it, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I think we're lucky as well that we've got some challenges. We've got McLaren, we've got Ferrari. I think there's a bit more going on. We've got junk second drivers at the 2 leading teams who will do shit for them. So
that's true. We should
really
talk about Perez. Did you see the thing that went out from our Twitter account?
I did.
I was very happy with. So the factoid, which was pulled from somewhere else, I don't even know. Perez in the last 7 races has only scored 16 points, and from the last 7 races, George Greg Russell has only scored 16 points from the last 7 races. So they've scored the same number of points. And then I pointed out also that that's only 16 points more than I've scored in the last 7 races.
Exactly.
And I'm not even, I'm past my prime, to say the least.
Look,
millions have said it.
People come back to Formula One. Alonso did, and he's fine. So, maybe
Do you think
could
I'm
too.
on for an Alan Alonso-esque return to Formula One? That would be miraculous. Let's put it that way.
I almost tweeted out, you almost said Fernando Alonso incorrectly there. I almost tweeted out this weekend, is Orlando... Orlando...
Fernando?
Yes. Philando Aloris anything is the one I almost tweeted out, and I had it. Philando Aloris, is that anything? And I almost didn't. I was like, I don't think it's anything. I don't think you can ask that question. Maybe that could be the next quiz for a shakedown. A next
it's
poll
a good one.
Is Philando Aloris anything?
Anything, yes or no? Do you want to talk about did we talk about the thing before that you said you wanted to talk about? Oh, the penalty. Here we go. Let's talk about that.
Oh, yeah, that was quick.
What did you think? He got a reprimand. He obviously pulled into the pit lane, then skidded straight back out, then came straight back in and copped a penalty for it. I don't know. You seem to have...
Did he, though? Did they decide that they did give him a penalty in the end?
You got a reprimand, not a penalty.
Yeah, we understand in the circumstances that it's really wet. It's like, yeah, but he shouldn't have come back in. Like, what you're actually punishing there is like, yeah, you can cross over the line, but it's dangerous to drive back in. Don't do that.
Yeah, I took it as him just saying, like, number one, he would have been furious, but number two, whatever penalty, it's not worth doing another lap. So, look, I mean, I'm trying to remember whether Lewis got a penalty that time. Then he did it, and it wasn't even wet. He kind of came.
I think so.
Like the rule is if you come, the rule is that if you don't come in, you can't cross the line after you go past the little thing. So you can't jut in past the entrance. But I think with Lewis, they were like, well, you did come in at the right spot. You just went out and then came back in again in another spot. So, I mean, I don't remember my take at the time, but it should be consistent with this one. So,
I mean, go back and find that, and whatever Rod said there, insert
it right here. Whether I was for it or against it or neutral, just put it right here.
Yeah. I don't think it matters. I think it matters to the sport.
Who cares?
Why aren't they consistent when they could be?
They should be consistent.
I think it's just bad comms, and it's, as someone tweeted, it's not Michael Massey. He's race director. He puts stuff to the stewards. He's not the steward or set of stewards. So stop blaming him. It's not up to him. He's just a visible part of it. Oh, dear.
How about Valtteri Bottas? Do you think they gave him an engine penalty deliberately to get him back there and to muck up?
Yes, of course. Yes, Mercedes are so focused on Red Bull and Max Verstappen and stopping you at any cost that they put a new engine in Bottas and send him to the back of the grid to crash into Max. And he loves Max Verstappen so much
and he did.
That even when he had an opportunity to crash into him, he didn't. When every commentator thought that they should have, that he should have just shut the door, broken his whole car, and then when Max went to get out of the car, he should have shoved him down like he was putting under the water in a pool, like you would do to a young brother or something. There was some real,
what would you call it? Almost like cosplaying going on in the commentary and the comments and the memeing that was like, bloody Max Verstappen thinks he can crash into Hamilton and get away with it. Let's get Bottas back there, get his elbows out and give him a bit of argy-bargy, something to think about, something to carry on with, huh? Was never going to happen. That's crazy. That is ridiculous. Plus, also, Bottas could have qualified in, 5th or 6th or something and still ruined Verstappen's race. He doesn't have to take a penalty for it. It doesn't make any sense.
It might be a happy coincidence. It might be like, that's kind of useful.
That's a sweet little benefit, but it's not going to be make or break between them doing it or not.
It might have been a 1% to help them make the decision, but it wasn't the reason. We're just looking, everybody's, we're all in a pandemic. We've all got
I reckon we've got the Hamilton Verstappen blinkers on,
Yeah. Yeah.
We're just seeing everything through the prism of that.
Right?
Exactly. Is there? I suppose so. Right. Did he do okay? He qualified okay, didn't he? And then not so good in the race? The wet,
yeah,
I think he paid a price in the wet, unlike Carlos Sainz.
Oh, Carlos Sainz, who didn't have a great start to the race, I don't think.
No. Don't think so.
I don't think those Ferraris are they're quick, but they're not like, it's still Ferrari, right?
But they're not McLaren quick.
I was still sitting there being a bit like, how will Ferrari find a way to muck this up for themselves?
Yeah,
I still think they've totally got that. Every race weekend, they've got something in them that's like, oh, we can just pretend like no one else exists. It's like, no. There's 18 other cars out there. You've got to plan for all of that. But we're Ferrari, don't you know? So yeah, I don't know. How are you feeling about Carlos Sainz now? Like this far through the season?
I mean, I think we were all expecting, well, I was expecting that it was going to be a painful year and he was just going to do his best, but it was going to be a test for him in terms of can he hang in there, or is he just going to lose his head, just get sick in the head from driving a not very good car? Ironically, he's had a couple of podiums here and there and he's done okay. So I think that he's got a bit of a sniff of like, well, better hold it together here, Chile. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on the big opportunity when it comes. But I mean, I guess that to flip that question around, to answer that question by flipping it around, how do you feel about Charles Leclerc? Do you still feel like he's like the golden son, or not really?
I think he is. I think that he's kind of emblematic of maybe how Ferrari feel about themselves. They're like, we're just perpetually unlucky, aren't we? If things were more in our favor, then Charles Leclerc would be a world champion and we would be at the top like always. I think Carlos Sainz maybe has a slightly grittier, he's had a weird career and I feel like he's finally like, I've made it. I'm here. I'm at the big team. I'm going to make it work. Or Charles Leclerc like is, he's a avid, it's not to say he doesn't push hard or anything like that, but I don't know. There's been glimpses with Charles, but not like they're the kind of glimpses I expect from a midfield driver, like at a midfield team. They're the kind of like, if you could just get into the better car, maybe you could make something of it. But his Ferrari time has been stop-start, but Ferrari has been like that. It's hard to get a read on them because they're so fits and bursts. Like it feels like even 2 seasons ago, it was like, hey, maybe Ferrari are on the way back. Maybe it's starting to happen. And now here we are, like 2 years later, and they're still just exactly like they've kept up, but they haven't moved forward. Whereas you look at other teams, like even Aston Martin, obviously McLaren, AlphaTauri, pushing, where I don't feel like Ferrari are ever really in touching distance to the top. Even when they do manage to take a random pole or get on the front row or get a podium, it feels a bit more like good luck than good management.
Yeah, it's funny. I do have to remember the rise of Williams. I mean, I've got this big Williams poster sitting next to me, the one we got from Singapore, and I used to look at it and go, oh man, well, they're a dog of a team, aren't they? But I mean, they've nearly won 2 on the trot. So it's a pretty good turnout. I want to talk quickly about the Seb and Lance touching in the wet. Seb was going around the outside. He was on wet tires.
Lance, sex tape. Seb and Lance touching in the wet.
Just so silly and dumb. And I don't know, like it was Lance going, like it was a right-hander, and then Seb decides, I'm going to go around the outside. And then Lance just sort of drifts across and he doesn't even know he's there. Almost puts him in the wall. Nope. I just don't know what's going on. I just don't understand it. And why does Seb keep hitting people?
Because I don't think he's ever lost that. I think it's very Max Verstappen-y. It's the kind of like, but aren't you all focused on me? Like, here I am. Like, you must know exactly where I am and know exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm doing what every driver would reasonably do. Why are you watching out for me? And it's like, no, part of the reason why I put them in the same category. Part of the reason why they're both so good, or have previously been good in Vettel's case, is that they aren't a normal Formula One driver. Like, they do things differently and maybe think a little bit differently. But then when they get caught out by people not guessing what they're going to do correctly, they're like, oh, God, what's this stupid, dumb sport? Everybody else is bad, but I'm great. Like, you're all wrong. And Seb's personality has softened over the past kind of 5 years when he's been proved that he's maybe not the greatest thing to ever happen to Formula One. But he still does shit like this where you're like, what's the point here? It's like he forgets sometimes what he's doing. When he spins or when he drives into someone, he just, little brain fades from him. Not often we get to be like, hey, Lance, you did nothing wrong. Something bad happened, but it had nothing to do with you.
Just, I mean, the weekend after they announced they were re-signing their drivers, and boom, they come together like, oh, this is not a good omen.
No.
Should we move on? Hopefully there is some good omens in the fantasy focus, where I said recently that I was going to make some small tweaks to my team, and I have made very small tweaks. And I did notice that I'm in the red zone for changes, which means any change I make, lose points, is a penalty for making the change. So, but in the interest of you and I not finishing on the exact amount of points and then having to go to tiebreaker, I made a change. So let's see how we went this week and how we went in the the league. Do you want to do the race or the league?
I can do the race. Let me bring it up here.
Okay, you can do La Liga. I'll do the... Oh, sorry.
Wait, what?
No. I just wanted to say La Liga. I'll do the league.
Do you know what La
You can do
Liga
the
is?
race. No, I know the words.
Cool.
Is it the French
football
league?
No,
The
that's
Spanish league. It had to be one of them.
Liga. And the
Sorry,
Italian
anyway.
one is Syria. They've all got fun names. It all just means number one, right? I mean, it's called Formula One, for football, I suppose.
What a beautiful sport.
version.
Anyway, back to Formula One.
Back to Formula One, the Russian Grand Prix. Number 3, my favourite team name of the year, of course, Hackman and French Gasly by Flurg, or Florge. I like Flurg better.
I like
185. It's a good amount of points. I always think like anything over like 160, you're doing pretty good. Second this week, second step at the podium. Leclerc aerodynamics, all one word. Leclerc aerodynamics. It's very good. I'm so sorry I fucked that up. It's hard to read on my small phone. Not all of us have big, new, bright, amazing phones, Rodney. By Tim T. Brown, or Timpt Brown, 188. Something about the points, 188 always looks really nice on the paper. But in first place this week, Brock Racing. Now, do you think Brock, the Australian racer, or do you think Brock from Pokemon?
We should call
What
it
do you
out.
think?
Let's say it's the Australian racer. We should call it out. I know we're in the middle of the fantasy report. Winner of the F3 this week, Brock. What's his name? No, Doohan. What's his name? What's his name? Doohan. Someone Doohan. Greg Doohan. Peter Doohan. I don't know.
Yep.
He's
doing well.
Whatever the old Formula Doohan. Yes, and then winner of the Formula 2, Oscar Piastri, leading the F Formula 2 by a whole bunch, and he's going to win. Clearly, that he's going to take out the F2. So it's been Aussie, and it was up to Daniel to win, but he let us down. Couldn't get the trifecta. Damn it!
Do you think that Mick Doohan, who is the father of Jack Doohan,
Jack Doohan is the man.
A
Yes.
MotoGP star? Do you think he's disappointed that his son has to have 4 wheels and couldn't balance on 2?
No, I'm sure he's very proud.
I'm sure he's probably pretty proud. 203 points for Brock Racing from Olivia. Well done. I said anything over 160 is great. Over 200, mate. Crack the double century. Most people don't do that.
Oof, the double ton. You'll have to see it. Do you want me to just cover the league, or do you want to find us in that race and see how we did?
Oh, I could find me in the race if I click the me button. It takes me immediately to the end. Oh, there's the other Zachary. That's not me.
Yeah, confusing, right?
Where am I? This makes for good radio, doesn't it? I can't find myself. Let's move on.
I can't find myself. That's all right. Well, I'll cover the top 3 in the Super License Universe League. It's very tight in the 2, 3, and 4 positions, but we're gonna go through the rostrum. Number 3, familiar names all. Team Hypothesis by Manager Hypothesis on 2,000 and something points. Team number 2, Team Tangelo Racing by Tony Saint. Very well done. Just got the slight edge, claiming P2 there. And team number 1, pulling out in front, probably, it's going to be hard to see anyone chasing him down, but none other than Yucknut and French Gasly by Fluge. Let's go with Fluge. I'll find us in the league, and that'll tell you a little bit about how we went this week as well. I had a sneaky check of this before just to have a confirmation of where we're at. So previously, despite previously leading, I know you sound downcast, but despite previously leading you are now ahead of me in the league. I gained 3 positions, you gained 5, so you just jumped me. Down in the 63s and 64s, but that doesn't matter. It's about who wins, because that's what's important is winning.
Exactly. We're not Formula One experts, and we're not pretending to be. We are commentators. We are mere conduits of drama to your ear holes. I mean, sure. Yeah, that's probably right.
Sure.
All to play for is what I say every week for Fantasy GP, and I think it still holds true. It's all to play for. Speaking of playing, Rod, should we do a super quiz?
Yeah, let's do it.
We will accept a couple of questions. Should one only win one? Would one want to have won that one in round 1?
Can you repeat the question?
By let's do it, as in let us do it, I mean let's you do it. Let you do it. Yeah.
Rod, let me do it, all right? Take your hands off the wheel. Let me do it. This is the Mick Can You Hack It quiz. Mick, can you hack it in the quiz? Can you guess what it's about? Question number 1. What's the quiz about?
It's about David Coulthard.
Yep. No, that quiz would be called like the Are You Cooler Than Coulthard? Something like that.
Oh, that'd be very good. Coulthard. It's obviously about
let me run it. Can I have one more run at that name? Mick,
right,
can you hack it in the quiz?
You'll get it eventually.
Fuck me, it's dumb. A great part of the Schumacher doco, Rod, was seeing our old mate, friend of yours and mine, Mika Hackman. But how well do you really know Mika Hackman, Rod?
I don't know. Not personally. I've heard some great stories from him about him.
Yeah.
From the old, what would you call, like, weathered paddock
Guard?
dogs, telling me great stories. Yeah, the old guard.
The guy
What
guys
would
have been
you call
put out
them?
to pasture in the
Guard
paddock.
Yeah, people in the paddock, and like especially the Finnish journalists. I was like, tell me all the stories about Mika Hakkinen. And I mean, they did, but they're kind of the same stories as every Formula One driver. You know?
Yeah.
We'll go through them
oh my
another
God,
time.
they're so straight laced on the track, but then when they let their hair down, they enjoy drinking an ice cream. Like, okay,
and it was
so
one
we all
crazy
do.
party that was just, you won't believe it. It was so crazy. And they borrowed the head of whatever's super expensive car, drove a little bit too fast and crashed it. That's like literally every Formula One driver has those exact same stories. I'm not even kidding. Anyway.
I'm sure that happened in Rush as well. I'm pretty sure that's part of the story.
Yeah,
Anyway,
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
all right. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions for you, Rod. I'm going to treat this as sometimes people don't know a lot about Mika Hakkinen because there's a whole generation of racers out there. Racers, viewers, listeners.
We have listeners who weren't even born when he was winning championships.
Jesus
sure
Christ, that's true. Can you tell me, Rod, you hinted at it before. Question number 1, a nice easy one. Bringing back the lob first question. Where is Mika Hakkinen from?
Finland.
He's from Finland.
Flying Finn.
Contested whether that's a real country. Having been there,
What?
it seems pretty fucking real to me.
As opposed to like a simulation? What do you mean?
Yeah, some people think it's not real. It's a hoax.
Doesn't even exist. Bloody conspiracy theories.
Exactly. Well, here's a question for you, Rod. Double K, double N, or both?
Oh, I love this. Double K.
Yes, it's double K. Well done.
Yes.
Which is
so same. It's the same with Raikkonen. Same with Valtteri and Bottas. The double is always in the middle of the name.
yeah, the first time, like the first consonants, maybe.
Yeah,
or second
hit that
one
first
after
one
the
hard.
capitalization.
Put 2 in there. Yeah, that's it.
Fuck,
Just in
that's
case
exactly
you forget
what I've
about
got
the
written
first
here.
one. Here's the second one. What?
Yeah, that it's just like the double T for Valtteri.
Exactly it is.
All right, Rod, but you might not know this, but current F1 driver Valtteri Bottas, Valtteri Bottas, he's also from Finland, which is kind of bizarre. He was born in Nastola. Lots of Finnish drivers in Formula 1. It's weird.
It's true. It's true.
And the distance, but
No, I'm saying it's true. There's lots of Finnish drivers.
I thought you said there's 2, and I was like, yes.
No,
but
there's lots.
Yeah, heaps and heaps. Valtteri Bottas was born in Nastola, whereas our friend Mika Hakkinen, who this quiz is about, eponymous, was born just outside of Helsinki. The distance between those places is about 106 kilometres. How quickly do you think you could drive from Bottas's house to Hakkinen's house in an F1 car?
Oh, in an F1 car. Wow. Okay.
In an F1 car.
I mean, the thing is, it's tempting to go like, well, Formula One car can do 330 kilometers an hour. So do you just gun it all the way? But do I have to do I have to stop at the toll booth? Do I have to follow the road rules?
Do I have to stop for a snack?
Yeah, exactly.
break?
Do I have to show my COVID passport? All these things factor in. Are we talking as the crow flies and at top speed in an F1 car or not?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is 106 kilometres on roads, though. So I've done the maths there for you. There are no crows in Finland because it doesn't exist.
I'm still trying to get my head around the parameters exactly. I'm just going to say half an hour.
Yeah, I've got it down as about like 20 minutes, but I mean, it's illegal, as you said, so you wouldn't be able to do it. So let's move on to the next question.
We don't endorse
Why
that,
did
so
David
this question's invalid.
Yeah, of course it is. That was the answer,
Yes.
though. You should have said, it's illegal, mate. No way. Can't drive a Formula 1 car between those two places on the roads.
I refuse.
That was the right answer. But yeah, about 20 minutes, half an hour probably. Why did David Coulthard let Mika Hakkinen pass him for victory in the 1998 Grand Prix?
Because of a gentleman's agreement that whoever was into the first corner first would be given the advantage after the pit stops.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Something like
Is that maybe the smoothest question
Oh, it's bullshit.
we've ever
It's
done?
bullshit. And he's retracted it since and said, yeah, why the fuck did I do that? Shit. Fuck.
So dumb.
I think that's why his autobiography was called Fuck, Why Did I Do That? The DC story.
Yeah,
Plus,
when I was rereading,
subtitle, it takes me 2 hours to shave.
oh, I mean, it takes me. Mac 5, more like Mac 20 is what I need.
That's what I'm talking about. Maka Hakkinen, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, who's writing this? Who's fucking this horse? Come on, who's writing this quiz?
Oh my God.
Anyway,
Yes.
when I was rereading that story, just to double check that I had it right in my mind, because it's my first F1 memory, that.
Right.
1998, so I would have been
Yes.
9 years old because it was probably the first race of the season. And it's the first time I can remember, like, I was interested, I watched it, I can remember the people involved, and I remember thinking, that's weird. But I feel like rereading it now, I'm like, wow, Mika Hakkinen tricked David Coulthard. Like,
Yeah. Totally
he
played
put
him.
in redundancies.
Yeah. No, 100%. Absolutely. It was all rigged. It was a total, like, sham.
Amazing. So much that then later they were like, team orders, let's get rid of those. And then they brought them back like 8 years later. They were like,
Yeah,
actually, you know
like,
what, team
don't worry
orders are
about
fine. Yeah, stupid. At that same race, Rod, Mika Hakkinen, he came into the pits unexpectedly. Sorry. What did the team principal, Ron Dennis, later claim had happened?
Did he claim that he had misread the pit board?
No. Would you like another go? That's not a quiz question. You can say yes or no.
The answer to that question is yes. And the answer to the other question is that he misheard a radio call?
Someone hacked their radio frequency.
No.
Is what Ron
they
Dennis is
didn't.
claiming.
That's not true.
He's like, someone hacked in
Get out of town,
and
Ron Dennis.
called Mika Hakkinen into the pits, and we weren't ready, and he just drove straight through. And that's why he was behind David Coulthard. Which could have
This
been a
all
good
smells
reason.
like a cover-up.
It does. It sounds stupid. Last question, Rod. Question number 6. What Windows program did I use to draw Mika Hakkinen's McLaren for a grade 6 project?
Please tell me you've still got that.
I wish I did.
Oh, I guess it was MS Paint.
It was MS Paint.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Good stuff.
That is, I reckon probably 4 or 5 out of 6 that you did.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's around there.
Let's call it 5 out of 6, I reckon. Amazing. I still remember drawing the lines and then bending them to get those side pod arches and then drawing the McLaren logo and painting it orange. Great.
Really good looking car, that 98 and 99. It's just such a good looking car. I was really into that team. Just so into it. And
they were
recently,
cool.
Exactly. Recently turned 53. So happy birthday to you, Mr. Hakkinen.
Mr. Mika Hakkinen.
Please, Mr. Hakkinen is my father. Mika Hakkinen, Mika Hakkinen. That's a thing, right? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
was just a
when I
callback
went
to
to
your
the
is that a
Hungarian
thing
Grand
thing?
Prix, there was a lot of Finnish there
Of course, yes.
they were doing it for Kimi Räikkönen, but then every now and again they just burst into it for Hakkinen as well because they're like, well, it's the
Nice.
same.
We when we started doing t-shirts, we had a Flying Finn t-shirt with all the drivers. It was Kovalainen, but it was also Hakkinen, Valtteri, and Kimi.
Yeah, so good.
Break that out when there's 3 more Finns back on the grid.
3 more flying fins. Well, we might
Exactly.
need one for 3 Australians all at once if Piastri, Doohan, and Ricciardo. Could you imagine if they were all at once?
Bring it on. The dream team. I want
At
an
a
Australian
team
dream
managed
team
by
with
Mark Webber?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's definitely going to happen. Definitely. Back it in.
That's the quiz. Done. Well done.
Thank you, mate. Genuinely, really appreciated that one because, again, he's one of my favorite drivers of all time. So thank you.
It was a dumb one. I'm glad you liked it.
It was good. I mean, what counts is I enjoyed it.
Yes, exactly. That's the only reason I do the show is to bring you joy.
And the other reason you do a show is, like you said before, that you have a final thought ready. So I've been waiting with bated breath, waiting to hear this amazing thought that's been brewing, festering.
Did you see festering? Yeah, that's probably right, actually. Did you see the comments or read the comments or maybe saw the video from the Netflix CEO speaking to a German media company about Formula One?
Oh, this is about they want to maybe buy the streaming rights.
Yeah.
By the sport.
No. By
take
the sport,
over from Liberty, basically.
Yeah. And I had never thought of the sport that way, but it is that because it's like a closed thing. He was like, if it came up again, we would have bought it instead of F1. We looked at it a little bit when Liberty Media bought it. But now I'm like, oh shit, should have bought it then. Because their big problem is they'd like to do more sport stuff, like Amazon Prime's doing sport, other streaming services are doing sport, but it's hard because there's all these different little rights buying per country, and Netflix is like, well, we're a big global company, and we'd like to just do that, but sports are all weird because they're all parts of like either their country or their pyramids or other systems, whereas Formula One exists outside of all of that. It's its own thing, like kind of self-regulated, and you can just totally kind of do whatever you want with it. So we could just buy the whole sport and turn it into a big entertainment product, and that way do all this really cool shit. I was like, oh man, I'd never thought of it that way. But we've had this conversation before about F1 being like just pure entertainment, right? It's not, there's no comparison sport. There's no like leagues that it exists in. There's no like, it's just its own thing, totally on its own. Like it doesn't have a home either. It moves around all these different race venues. It has a very specific kind of audience about it too, and an odd relationship where fans are not, they can be fans of teams and fans of drivers, but not in that same way of like, they have a home ground that I go to every week or every second week and watch them. Or, you know, some people live and die by their teams, but that's not necessarily the lived experience of most F1 fans. And so the idea that just so blatantly someone would just come out and like the Netflix CEO would come out and be like, yeah, it's just an entertainment product, right? Like any other entertainment product, we could buy the whole thing and then turn it into whatever we want. I was like, oh yeah, the sport is at total risk. Maybe badly, maybe positively. Who knows? If someone coming and being like, you know what, the races should be just 25 laps actually, and we should do let's do 3 on a weekend maybe, and we could reverse the grids and just make it really good for television.
And then at the end of it, as they're waving the checkered flag, little box pops up on the bottom. Do you want to watch another race? It just keeps going. The drivers all just have to keep driving.
If enough people say yes, they just go again.
I guess as you were saying all of that, laying all that out, I mean, I'd heard that news and I was like, that would be weird. But I mean, 2 things that come to mind. Number one is like now everyone's kind of streaming stuff and they've got 10 different services and all the rest of it. People are starting to think like the only time I watch TV is like maybe news or like sport. Sport is the one thing that's like, it's been bolted on for so long. You watch live sport and you'll watch it on TV. I know that there's some sports that are like on streaming services or whatever, but it's like, what do you watch live? What's the must watch shared experience of in the moment? It's always sport. So it makes sense for them to be like, well, that's a big competitor to us. We want them within our ecosystem. We want someone who's watching, you know, who knows, whatever the current Netflix show is that everyone's watching. You know, we want them to go from that to Formula One. And then right after that, we're just going to go straight into another show that they want to watch. And, you know, they're already showing, distributing, shows. The other thing that came to mind was when they first started looking at, doing an online streaming option to subscribe and watch races in TV Pro or TV Plus, whatever they're calling it these days. They were going to Netflix. I remember them talking to them and saying, we're not good at streaming. You guys are the best at streaming. Please, tell us how, or let us pay you, or can we stream through your stuff? Yeah, exactly. So it's almost like, well, by the time they are streaming the races, what's the difference between them just having a commercial agreement versus investing so heavily that they just get it all back over the years anyway? Yeah. Plus, they've got all these other spin-off, you know, direct access to all these other spin-off properties that you've got Drive to Survive, and then who knows what else. You got Schumacher, you've got Leclerc, you've got the Hamilton story, you've got It Takes Me 2 Hours to Shave, the DC story, all this stuff that you can make. It's just all sitting right there.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, you then own, I'm sure they see value in a lot of the owning all of the, if you own the whole sport, you own all the footage and all that kind of stuff. If you're not selling the rights, then you can kind of be like, well, we'll own that in perpetuity as well. Like any other future documentaries or anybody wants to use any of that footage or any of those interviews or anything like that, we own all that too forever. Yeah. They're going to have to pay us for all of that.
And remember when Liberty took over and we were like, oh my God, finally someone's tweeting about the sport. Someone's like posting stuff to YouTube. Remember what a relief that was to be like, oh, thank goodness someone is here who knows how to do all that stuff. This is kind of like the logical conclusion of that. Like, you know, who knows how to take the sport and put it on my TV screen? Please just someone do that. Well, they know how to do that.
Yeah. And I'm sure that Netflix, like, you know, it's also good because it's a real sport. We can have the whole experiential thing too. Like it's got people going. So we'll always have that physical connection to people, but with mainly online, digital, you know, distribution, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it really feels like, you know, when Red Bull was sponsoring F1 teams, I went like, fuck, this is buy a team. For all this money that we're spending with no control, we just buy one and just run it.
I think also, I mean, like I said before, everyone's kind of gone from having like the one streaming option. Now, I mean, everyone I know now has it like 3, 4, one for music, one for TV, maybe 4 for TV shows.
Yeah.
And people are starting now to jettison. I mean, I literally heard someone say the other day, the one I'm going to get rid of is Netflix because I've got like everything else covered every other way. So if I'm going to get rid of one, the one I'm going to get rid of is Netflix. So I guess they're probably thinking like, let's bring Formula One into our subscription. And that gives people who want to subscribe, who are already subscribing somewhere else, a reason to subscribe to us. We don't even have to charge anything extra because if enough people were going to get rid of Netflix and keep 3 other services and we weren't one of them, well, then we're ahead anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Netflix they have no companion. Like Amazon Prime has Amazon, Apple TV has, you can get all the Apple One services and you hold Apple devices. All of the people who are already in media are like, well, yeah, we just do streaming now too. It's not, Netflix doesn't mean streaming anymore. And streaming is its own thing.
Yeah.
And I think people forget about YouTube in that sense as well. YouTube's actually bigger than all of them combined. I don't know, maybe the combined thing's not right, but it's actually much bigger than all of those media streaming companies. And so, unlike Spotify, where it's like, well, where else are you going to go listen to music? And people are like, well, I use Apple Music or I use Tidal or whatever it's called. It's like, yeah, but most people are just like, you just go to Spotify and listen to it. So Netflix are weak in that sense. They need to, and I don't think their content quality has been as high either. I think that it used to be like, oh, that's a Netflix show,
not.
like the HBO of streaming. And now it's like, oh, it's a Netflix show. It's going to be,
That means it's
going to be too long.
average.
Yeah, instead of just being one.
That's the other thing I was going to say.
8 seasons, 12 episodes.
Let's take the season. Now it's 40 races, and they're not going to get, like, 10 of them are just not even real. They're just nothing. Like,
Formula One, Tasmania. And we'll get spin-offs.
You could just imagine the pitch meeting from Liberty to Netflix to be like, well, what we did was we took the Formula One season, we turned it from 18 races into 23, and they're like, we already love it.
Yep, more.
Did you need to have 23 races? Definitely not. Well, man, I'm sold. I'm sold right here. You sold it in the room.
Yeah.
The
Now,
dream
we've had
pitch.
this thing called pay drivers. We thought we could get more celebrities in the cars, actually. So every team has to have one person who's also very good at cooking. It does a different thing.
We need to do a Formula One / Nailed It cross promotion episode. So can Nicole Byer fit in one of the cars, please?
Just make it happen. Just one race. It's all we need. Just one race. Anyway, that's my final thought. Did you have a final
great
thought?
Good
Thank
one.
you.
Two, like lots of like a real meaty. Like, I just felt like in the old days that would have been like a 20-minute thing that we talked about. Mine's pretty simple in that, like I said, it was the race was at a good time like that. Bring that back, please. Sat up and watched it. My daughter woke up probably like an hour into the race and came out, and she wasn't crying, wasn't grumpy. She was like wide-eyed, and she was like, "What are you guys watching?" And I was like, just come over here, mate. Don't worry about it. Go back to sleep. Like, usually comes up and has a cuddle with one of us, goes back to sleep, and then eventually one of us will take her to bed. But she was like, sort of like cuddling and looking over her shoulder, like the big fast cars. And she loves cars. So she's like, she knows what racing is. Wasn't that interested in, like, obviously, like the cars don't have eyes and stuff. So she wasn't that interested in, like, she didn't connect with the cars in that way. But she was very interested in, like, what do you watch? I want to watch, like, what are you watching? And then she was like walking away to go to the bedroom, still sort of like walking away, but looking back over her shoulder, like, but maybe I could watch a little bit more. So I don't know. Maybe she's got it. Maybe she caught the bug.
Oh, Rodney Gordon, it's happened. Now you're going to have that.
I didn't even mean it, but it's happened. It's great.
But you're going to want to share it with her, and now you're going to be like, oh, I can barely stay out for the races, but if you're here, we'll both stay up, and then it's joined, and this is where it starts.
That's the thing. Maybe she'll sleep better if I keep her up for 2 hours in the middle of the night.
Yeah, well, maybe when she's a Formula One driver, she'll call back to that moment. She'll be like, it was this one night. I think it was the Russian Grand Prix. I don't know. But
I have this dream about like rain and someone called Lando.
No,
what does that mean, Dad?
For Lando and Norris, something like that is their name.
Is that a thing, Dad? Yes, hon. It's a thing. That's been the show. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you. Well, actually, next time there's no race, so we're going to do another shakedown next week. So look out for that. Look out for the stupid shakedown poll. We'll work out which one it's going to be. There's plenty of stupid options on the stupid table. So we'll see what we tweet out. Make sure you vote and make your voice heard in that. Until then, Zach, any parting words?
I mean, it's much better than voting on driver of the fucking day, right? So vote on our dumb poll.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to vote on any dumb poll, make it our dumb poll. Thanks for listening. Till next time on Shakedown. My name's been Rod.
My name's been Zach.
We'll talk to you later. Have a week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
You say have a week. Not even a good or bad week. Have a week. That's great. I love that. Perfect.